in from Las Vegas, Nevada, the FIBA Americas Championship. The United States looks to continue rolling. They have yet to lose or be tested. Today they take on Puerto Rico that pulled off a surprising win against Brazil. If you look at the standings right now, keep in mind you do get a point for a loss, and your points did come over from round number 1, except for wins against Panama and the Virgin Islands, which were eliminated. Argentina knows they will make it to the semifinal round. The United States will make it there as well if they win tonight's game, or at least one of its remaining 3 games. Brazil also holds their own destiny in their hand. Everyone else, things are up for grabs. John Saunders alongside of Bill Walton, and when you say up for grabs, if it is, Carmelo Anthony has been there to grab it.
John, that's been the way it has been for Carmelo Anthony ever since he's represented his country, the United States. This guy's full repertoire is on display. He is dominating the statistics for the U.S., who has been completely overwhelming as a country and a group. But Carmelo's defense has led to fast break opportunities and throwdowns, his ability to create for himself off the dribble and dunk in 2 people's face, plus his capabilities to score from behind the arc. Granted, it's 3 feet closer, but Carmelo Anthony, the second leading scorer in this FIBA America Tournament 2007. The most important statistic, though, on the right, the minutes played. Everybody else at or above 30. Carmelo Anthony, 18 minutes per game and nearly 23 points per game. He is also Team USA's leading rebounder. This guy is getting it done.
4 more points per minutes played. Carlos Arroyo, this is a guy who has basically been a U.S. buster.
From Florida International, Carlos Arroyo has been a good NBA player, but he has turned out to be one of the best international point guard players of all time. And in the last 2 games against the United States, the World Championship in Japan last year, 3 years ago in Athens, he has just been superb. Puerto Rico is just one of a select group of teams that have ever beaten the United States since they have allowed the NBA players into this competition.
The State Farm starting lineups, and we go back to the exact starting lineup we had for the first 4 games.
No slight to Chauncey Billups or Amari Stoudemire, but the coaches were just not happy with the flow of the rotation. So Jason Kidd right back there with Kobe Bryant in the backcourt, Dwight Howard in the starting center position. For Puerto Rico, John.
For Puerto Rico, Lee, Ramos, and Reyes up front. We've had a change in the backcourt. Rick Apodaca, who played 4 years at Hofstra, will get the start there.
And Larry Ayuso, just an outstanding counterpart with Carlos Arroyo in the backcourt. Not in tonight's starting lineup. We're just going to have to wait to see how that plays out for Puerto Rico.
It's interesting how pool play has gone, because Puerto Rico struggled in the first round, then they pounded up on Brazil. Now, NBA versus the international rules, of course, the court is a little bit shorter. And
is bigger.
The key is much bigger.
And as the tournament has unfolded, John, we find that the goaltending rule, which is different in international basketball, allows you to swipe the ball off the rim. That is really starting to become a factor now as the players getting accustomed to it. Most of these guys playing either college basketball or in the NBA rules.
1988 was the last time college players represented the United States in the Olympics. Since we've gone to NBA players, these are the losses, and one of them is to Puerto Rico.
And the most devastating one, the biggest spread, all the other losses were relatively close, and the United States had a chance. But that game, the opening game in Athens 3 years ago, this was a 20-point blowout. And Larry Brown, then coaching the United States, he had to pull all his guys off the court just to keep them from getting embarrassed. The fans in Athens, they were celebrating Puerto Rico's brilliance that day, led by Carlos Arroyo. We're going to have to see if he can duplicate that effort and performance again tonight in Las Vegas.
All right, Puerto Rico will go to work first. Into the hands of Arroyo, who tosses it off.
First night that we've seen the United States in the blue uniforms. Every other game they've been wearing white. Pressure defense. Jason Kidd, the premier defender in the backcourt.
Carmelo Lee from outside. knocks down a three-pointer.
The coaches for Puerto Rico, for the United States, feel that Puerto Rico's strength is on the perimeter. The backcourt, the long distance shooting. Kobe Bryant pulls his own trigger from behind the arc, which is a full 3 feet closer. So this is nearly a layup for these guys. Kobe, who didn't shoot the ball well last night, forced a number of opportunities. A very nice look off the penetration and dish there.
And Puerto Rico came out in a zone there. Did that surprise you at all?
No, because Puerto Rico, they need to win this game. Puerto Rico still trying to get into that Final Four. You accurately pointed that all out with Argentina being in. The forced air ball with Carmelo Anthony's tremendous defense and another push of the ball. But Puerto Rico is a squad that needs to win this game, play well in this game, because even though if they do lose, which they're expected to lose, point differential does come into play, and that's something that I don't really agree with, John, because it encourages teams to run up the score when they're playing against an inferior opponent, and that's just not good sportsmanship. What a tip pass by Jason Kidd.
Kobe Bryant will finish on the reverse.
Good to see Tayshaun Prince up and at him. He sprained his ankle the other night, and he did not play in last night's game. Remember, the United States is in a stretch of games here, 6 nights in a row that they're going to play every single night. And talking to the coaches, they really feel it's nearly impossible to be perfectly on top of your game every single night when there's no rest in between.
Was P.J. Ramos at one end, Kobe Bryant trying to answer back, and second chance points have been huge. Zones will give you a lot of that as well.
This is an untenable mismatch. Ramos cannot guard Carmelo Anthony. That's one of the reasons why they're playing zone. Sadly for Puerto Rico, one of their mainstays over the years in the front court, Daniel Santiago, has recently retired from the national team, still playing professionally over in Europe.
Says he's retiring to concentrate on, what a swat. Dwight Howard, Arroyo open a little bit deep, and Howard grabs the rebound and finds Jason Kidd, and out in front to Carmelo Anthony gets the roll.
Ramos just not quick enough, not mobile enough, and that's one of the reasons why Puerto Rico will have to play zone. Another reason is in that 2004 Athens debacle when the United States went down by 20 points, the United States was 3 for 24 from behind the three-point arc, and it was a team that did not have good three-point shooting to begin with, just atrocious, and that ball off the foot of Kobe Bryant, whose defense continues to be a major story in this FIBA tournament.
You talk about that poor shooting in that Olympic game. What's more amazing about it is this three-point arc is closer. So it shouldn't have been that difficult for the, it's not even like you had to have Reggie Miller out there to knock down three-point shots. Kobe Bryant fights his way in, loses the handle, looking for a foul, comes right to Dwight Howard, and he lays it up and in.
Dwight Howard, who is leading this FIBA American tournament in field goal percentage. In fact, the top 3 shooters are all from the United States. And Puerto Rico is going to quickly take a timeout, see if they can find some sort of rhythm here.
The United States out to an early 11-5 lead here at the FIBA Americas Championship in Las Vegas, Nevada. And why is the United States doing so well? Well, they're #1 in every category.
You talk domination, that's what this United States team has done. This has been the best United States team since the '92 team that had Jordan, Bird, Magic, and all the guys on it. You're leading in points, shooting, both free throws and field goal percentage. Opponents shooting, rebounds, block shots. Nobody else is even close. This squad is outstanding, and the way they put it all together, they deserve to be the ranked team as #1 in everything.
Well, they're definitely ranked #1 in salaries.
Well, but that's a reflection of how much money there is in sports, John. And sports, believe it or not, is the 5th largest component of the total U.S. economy. When you take everything that it encompasses the business of sports, #5 overall. Kobe Bryant working to get to the hoop. Kobe is learning from Carmelo that you got to get a quick start in these games. You can't sit around and wait for the ball to come your way. We haven't even seen LeBron do anything yet, and he's really been one of those guys who the coaches have just been raving about in terms of his leadership, his attitude, the positive and constructive support he's given to this whole scenario here.
Finally, underneath, they get a little help as Reyes picks up an air ball and lays it up and in.
Puerto Rico, the Isle of Enchantment, the smallest of the Lesser Antilles. Beautiful shot there by Puerto Rico. Arroyo cannot save it. One thing that we witnessed last night with Mexico and tonight here, the games are faster paced. And one of the reasons Mexico was able to break the century mark with points of their own, even though they lost by 27 points. But they were shooting, just with a couple seconds gone on the shot clock. Nolan Richardson with the 40 minutos de infierno trying to get it going. And for Puerto Rico, that's going to happen as well, as the longtime coach Manolo Cintron, who was just appointed to succeed Julio Toro. What a succession of coaches that they've had there for Puerto Rico. Because Cintron has been the assistant coach for many, many years there on the Puerto Rican national team.
I want to remind everybody, ESPN.com has full coverage of the USA basketball team as they continue qualification for the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. Video features and reports from Las Vegas by Chris Sheridan highlight the coverage. Check out ESPN.com for all of your USA basketball news and information.
This is one thing we've really seen in this tournament, because the defensive strategy implemented by Coach Krzyzewski is because of the lack of quality big men on the other teams. Dwight Howard is able to come and double team the point guard or the leading scorer, the leading offensive weapon for the opponent time and time again. An offensive foul away from the ball, the elbow thrown. Jason Kidd just walks away from that contact.
Drawn by Arroyo.
Carlos Arroyo, who played in those games in Athens, who played in the games in Japan last year, he said that this United States team is so vastly superior to the last two versions of the United States. So he knows full well, having played against all these guys, he says one of the main differences is the addition of Kobe Bryant. The second difference is the team chemistry that this current squad is showing, with no bickering, no selfishness. Dwight Howard just overpowering Ramos on his way to the hoop.
That would be Arroyo's teammate, Dwight Howard, both for the Orlando Magic. Howard has just about been dunking everything. Team USA is qualifying for the 2008 Olympics continues tomorrow. The quarterfinal round robin has the USA against Uruguay at 11 Eastern time. The top four teams after the quarterfinal round will still have a chance to win their spot in Beijing. Remember, all USA games are available live on ESPN360.com.
Really looking forward to seeing Batista tomorrow night. The great scorer from Uruguay.
Arroyo with the nice move to the bucket. Switches hands and lays it off the glass.
Arroyo and Dwight Howard are teammates on the Orlando Magic, an up-and-coming squad that just made the NBA playoffs after some time out. Dwight Howard rejected at the basket area.
Shot from deep for Puerto Rico, no good. Howard with the rebound.
And it's going to be interesting to see if Carlos Arroyo and Dwight Howard get into a little bit of rivalry here on the court, the way that Nene and Carmelo Anthony did in last night's game. Or, excuse me, in the Brazil game.
Ayuso with the miss and a terrific follow underneath by Carmelo Lee.
Lee is one of the three perimeter stars for Puerto Rico that the United States is very concerned with. Carmelo Anthony, one of the few times you'll see him put the ball on the floor and shoot a perimeter shot. Normally when he puts it on the floor, he's getting all the way to the rack.
USA having their problems scoring here in the first quarter, which has usually been a quarter that they got off to terrific starts and then pulled away in the second quarter of games.
In 5 games, they've scored a total of 163 points in the first quarter. So that's, by my mathematical calculations, that's over 30 points per quarter in the opening stanza.
Yusa with a nice drive gets it to within 3. Kobe Bryant answers right back. Seems a little concerned, perhaps on the faces of the coaching staff of USA, as they see their team has not gotten off to a good start here.
They're not fast breaking, which is a tribute and testament to the skill of Carlos Arroyo. Puerto Rico's not turning the ball over. Their floor balance is good.
Oh, Arroyo trying to create something out of nothing. And Dwight Howard grabs the rebound, and Arroyo commits the foul.
But in talking to the coaching staff of the United States before the game today, the guy that they really had to slow down, Carlos Arroyo, then Larry Ayusa, and then Carmelo Lee. And if the United States can match up with Jason Kidd on Arroyo, Kobe Bryant on Larry Ayuso, and LeBron on Carmelo Lee, and they can defend the pick and roll, then the United States should have their way.
Jose Barea checking into the game. He, of course, is another NBA player with 33 games with the Mavericks last year.
One of only 2 Puerto Ricans currently in the NBA.
That's what they've done in the first quarter thus far, as you were pointing out. Amari Stoudemire will go to the free throw line, but tonight the USA just 18 points, and Puerto Rico within 5. And it's interesting because Puerto Rico struggled in the opening round of pool play. They went 1-3, then they came out and they blasted Brazil like they were a totally new team. And tonight with a pretty good start against Team USA.
Opponent selection. Puerto Rico did not play well in the opening pool play. Now they get Brazil in the opening round of the second pool, just after Brazil gets their hats handed to them by the United States, and they're just Brazil walking around in a fog until Brazil comes alive earlier tonight in Las Vegas with a 14-point victory against Mexico, which looked pretty good in last night's game and tonight's against Brazil, and defeats both of them though.
Apodaca from outside won't go down. LeBron James.
One of the things you're seeing, John, is the opponents for the United States really focusing on transition defense. That ball thrown wildly out of bounds by Amari Stoudemire.
Off a foot first, so it still belonged to the United States. Arroyo didn't get much of a breather.
Little trouble getting the ball in bounds.
Chauncey Billups trying to do that. Over the top to LeBron James. Back to Billups again. LeBron, a deep 3-pointer. Off the mark and no good.
Little frustration. That was really the first time in the set offense that LeBron's even touched the ball. And if you don't get everybody involved and they're not feeling comfortable in the flow and rhythm, when they do get it late, they're going to say, hey, I got to get to work here.
Well, Tayshaun Prince, who a couple of games ago went down early with a sprained ankle, then sat out last night's game against Mexico, is back, so apparently that ankle was just tweaked a little bit.
The feeling is that Tayshaun could have played last night, but the extreme caution with the overwhelming depth and manpower advantage that the United States has, why take any chances? But these guys are lathered up. They're hungry to play, John. They don't want to sit on that bench. They're just having too much fun.
Almost a steal down there by Amari Stoudemire. Knocks it out of bounds.
Amari Stoudemire is 3rd in field goal percentage in this tournament at 69%.
That's 3rd.
Well, Dwight Howard is 1st at 79%. LeBron James is second at 74%. So you're talking total domination statistically by the United States as a team.
Michael Redd misses the shot from the outside. He seemed to struggle a little bit from out there against Mexico as well. Didn't shoot it as well as he had in the previous 3 games.
Nice pressure in the backcourt by Chauncey Billups. One of the strategies for the United States will be to wear down Carlos Arroyo, because when he goes out, and that was really just for a nanosecond, Puerto Rico doesn't really have anywhere else to go. Wild shot from deep by Puerto Rico.
Ayuso well off the mark as Kobe Bryant was guarding him nicely. Kobe looks to drive, weaves his way, tough shot, gets it to drop. Oh my goodness.
Those are the kind of plays that the fans, they love in terms of it going in. But if Kobe would just lay that off to somebody who's standing wide open for a dunk, that would break the spirit of the opponents very quickly. And then the double and triple teaming wouldn't come to Kobe all the time. One of the great quotes ever by Kobe in this past year's playoffs against Phoenix, after they went down in one of the games, Kobe quoted as saying, "It's really hard to dribble through 4 guys."
Correa with the last points for Puerto Rico. Michael Redd answers back. The United States starts to get its offense going. Quarter comes to an end. The toss goes nowhere near the hoop. This is the FIBA Americas Championship from Las Vegas, where after 1 quarter of play, the United States not showing their usual offensive arsenal. They get a close one against Puerto Rico, a team that's trying to retool after a slow start in the opening round of pool play. 24-15 at the end of 1. Last night against Mexico, the U.S. scored 45 points in the first quarter, Bill, just 24 tonight.
It has not been an offensive gem to date. The first quarter scoring Monday night against Mexico, 45 points tonight. Almost half of that. Kobe Bryant, the leading scorer with 11 points, 5 for 8 shooting. Carmelo, who's usually the top point producer, he only got 5 shots up to get 6 points of his own. Puerto Rico started shooting very poorly, 3 for 13, 7 for 22 overall in the quarter for 32%. But the 3-point shooting in the first quarter, the United States 1 for 8, Puerto Rico 1 for 9. That won't get it done.
Kobe Bryant loses the handle, and it's saved by Puerto Rico. Correa with a quick push, swings it out to Ayuso. Shots off the mark. Tayshaun Prince with the rebound. Chauncey Billups fights his way across midcourt.
Tayshaun moving very effortlessly, and that's a great sign.
Amari Stoudemire with a 3.
Don't encourage him, John. Tell him to get in the paint and get to work.
He said he's adding that to the arsenal this year. Now, of course, the NBA 3 is a couple steps back from that, but just the same, showing some range.
That little floater pass to the big man by Carlos Arroyo, that won't get it done. You've got to zip it to him quickly like that.
Correa fought down to get it to Sanchez, and Sanchez fought it up and draws a foul.
We need to take a minute, John, to give our condolences to Doug Collins, one of the great players for the United States in the 1972 Olympics. The story there that he made the 2 incredible free throws right at the very end of the game that seemingly won the gold medal for the United States. But anyway, Doug's younger brother, Jeff, died Monday night in Benton, Illinois, in a house fire. And it was just very, very sad. And it was a devastating loss for the Collins family and really for our country. But it's not the first fire, because Jeff Benton, a couple years ago, his house caught on fire again, and that time he was saved by his dog. But that dog has recently died and then was buried in the backyard. And this, our thoughts and prayers go out to the entire Collins family.
Absolutely. Michael Redd. Boy, that did not look like Michael Redd. Missing by that much. He had to have been fouled. Bryant, misses the layup. He beat everybody up the court.
Well, we're seeing why Puerto Rico is a very good basketball team. That pass just too low, and Michael Redd couldn't pick it up off his shoelaces.
Carmelo Anthony gets fouled on his way. No, offensive foul, and that's going to go against Amari Stoudemire. He had an illegal screen there, moving to get some room for Carmelo.
One of the things we're seeing as this game is unfolding, and a little bit of it last night against Mexico, more of the players for the United States going one-on-one. Not as much penetration and dish for wide-open shooting. Kobe taking it early. Now Carmelo saying, hey, I got to get mine. LeBron is standing over there playing that great team game that he's always noted for. But with Chauncey Billups, Jason Kidd, Darren Williams able to get down the lane whenever they want, the other team having to stay at home, you can play much better team basketball than we've seen in this last game and a half for the United States.
Krzyzewski up off the bench, barking out some instructions to Chauncey Billups.
Because while the Beijing games are next summer are turning out to be the business Olympics, these guys have got to realize that the real allure of the team game basketball, the most perfect of all games, comes from plays like that.
To Carmelo Anthony, and he tried to do a little dance on the way down and lost his footing.
Beautiful pass by LeBron. The coaches can't say enough about the job that LeBron James has done.
Well, it's clear that he's become a very unselfish player for a guy who has to take over games by himself. He now knows he doesn't have to. There's a great job defensively on Barea. That was a mismatch, so he's got a lot of size on him.
And Amari Stoudemire over the top. Poor spacing on the floor for the United States that time. LeBron's got to be frustrated, though, in the big picture that Cleveland hasn't really done anything. They haven't even signed their two unrestricted free agents. And with all the other teams in that Eastern Conference just loading up, particularly Boston, then how is LeBron and Cleveland expecting to get back to the NBA Finals?
So Amari Stoudemire, well, he only got I think he got 4 rebounds and 2 points on that last play. Back to Vegas in a moment. 33-17 is the United States has clamped it down and opened up a little bit of separation here in the second quarter. Carmelo Anthony, of course, has been the leading scorer for the United States in every game thus far in this tournament.
And leading rebounder. He just steps back. Ramos has no chance to guard him. Out in transition. Ramos backing up, outclassed in this competition, and then the throwdown, and then can't regain his balance as he comes back to earth.
Ayuso swings it to Arroyo. Correa tries for a tough pass to Ayuso underneath, picked off by Kobe Bryant.
Great defense by Kobe, seeing the ball the whole time, and then finding Dwight Howard, who has trouble sticking a fork in it.
But finds Carmelo Anthony, who doesn't.
The three-point shooting continues to be a nightmare for both teams. The United States 2 for 11, Puerto Rico 1 for 11, but Amari Stoudemire has really come alive here with 7 points in this quarter already for 9 overall. And congratulations to Amari and the Phoenix Suns for signing DJ Strawberry today, the star out of Maryland, who was voted the best athlete in the Orlando pre-draft camp that was just held in early June this year.
LeBron James, a three-pointer, as the USA now has a 22-point lead. DJ Strawberry,
the 59th pick. Phoenix still hoping to sign P.J. Brown, maybe. But Miami's in the hunt there as well. But P.J. is seriously considering retiring after a stellar career and is not really committed yet to whether he will play one more year.
Ayuso gets fouled. Could also say congratulations to Vinny Del Negro.
Very nice.
The assistant general manager there in Phoenix as well. Vinny, a very good friend.
Vinny grew up in Springfield, Massachusetts, the birthplace of basketball, where Dr. Naismith founded the game back in the late 1890s. And Vinny been with the Phoenix Suns for years now, but now is going to get an elevated position to work with Steve Kerr and Dave Griffith on all the front office business operations. So it's just going to be absolutely great for the NBA, Phoenix, and Vinny Del Negro. Congratulations.
A couple smart guys up there, Kerr and Del Negro. Because Vinny Del Negro picked up a lot of what he knows from Jim Valvano. So we know he's a smart guy.
Very difficult for Mike Krzyzewski here because the team won by 27 points last night. The story was, hey, you guys didn't get it done. What's going on? So while the United States, they weren't happy with the way they played last night, but you take it and you move on.
And Darren Williams with the ball. You saw Carmelo Anthony put his hand up and knock that free throw out. I'm not sure that they quite grasp what the is just yet, because I've seen that happen a couple of times.
Now that's ball movement. That's why Dwight Howard is averaging 79% from the field in this tournament. And when you play that kind of unselfish basketball, there is no stopping the United States.
Sanchez misses from the outside. And then Darren Williams a little aggressive on Ayuso, commits a foul.
Puerto Rico, which is 2.5 hours south of Miami by air. Beautiful island country, the Isle of Enchantment they call it, and 100 miles long, 35 miles wide, and you can almost see the entire country in one day. You get the sunrise from Fajardo in the east, and you're looking out over the Culebra and Vieques Islands, and then you drive to the other side to Cabo Rojo and Rincon and see the sunset, and then come back to Old San Juan and have a nice dinner in the old walled city there. Beautiful layoff again, LeBron James. Now this unit right here is playing superb basketball. Tayshaun Prince and Tyson Chandler leading the cheers.
Puerto Rico trying to answer back from outside, but nothing is falling right now. The United States pulling away. Darren Williams takes it. Quick step to the bucket. Head of the pack and then outside. Again, the shot will not fall down for Sanchez.
And one of the great advantages that the United States has, John, is that with so much versatility on this team that literally 7 or 8 of the players of Carmelo from behind the arc. United States on fire right now. The United States, anybody can bring the ball up the court. And the interchangeability, it reminds you so much of that great Chicago Bulls team in the 90s. That had Pippen and Jordan and John Paxson and Ron Harper and Tony Kukoc and all these different guys that could do everything on the court. And that was what was so brilliant about the idea of Phil Jackson coaching. Remarkably, Phil Jackson got his coaching start in Puerto Rico.
Oh, Arroyo, he wouldn't have played for him. A little young, but did knock down that last three. And Dwight Howard, nice seal, gets it back. And a reaching foul there by Sanchez. The WNBA playoffs continue Thursday at 8 Eastern Time on ESPN Classic. Game 1 of the Western Conference matchup between Diana Taurasi and the Phoenix Mercury and the San Antonio Silver Stars, led by Becky Hammon, our partner here on ESPN. Both head coaches and the lead referee will be wearing live microphones to enhance the viewing experience. It's the WNBA playoffs on the ESPN family of networks.
Phil Jackson getting his coaching start in Puerto Rico in the early 80s. A lot of other coaches from the American game, though, really cut their teeth in Puerto Rico, including the Hall of Famer Red Holtzman, Tex Winter, who should be in the Hall of Fame, John Bach, Casey Jones, who is in the Hall of Fame, Sam Jones in the Hall of Fame, Phil Jackson, who's going into the Hall of Fame in 10 days in Springfield, and then Henry Bibby, the UCLA legend, who's now coaching on the Philadelphia staff, the 76ers.
Henry Bibby had a nice stint at USC as a head coach.
9 years. And for USC basketball, that's a long time. But Tim Floyd at USC right now is doing an outstanding job. And with O.J. Mayo coming in. And
who said, by the way, Coach, don't worry about recruiting.
I'm coming.
I'm coming, and I'm bringing my friends with me.
Tim Floyd says, okay, why not? But what a brilliant move by O.J. Mayo. Now forced to go to the college ranks because of the new rule. And he said, I'm going to go to Los Angeles. I'm going to go to USC. All these other guys are going to be leaving. Nick Young, an outstanding player. The USC loses a number of guys. Going to be able to play in the Pac-10 in a huge major media market, get total exposure, get the connections in Hollywood, and then move on and make a better life for himself coming out of West Virginia. Who would have ever thought?
But why USC and why not your alma mater?
Maybe issues of playing time. Maybe issues of shot selection.
Mike Miller from deep, it won't fall down for him.
You know, Paul Westphal, one of the great players ever. Paul Westphal was really the only player who ever turned John Wooden down in UCLA's great run. Because Paul, he grew up there in the Manhattan Beach, South Bay region, and he looked around, he saw the whole thing happen, and said, look, if I go to UCLA, I'm going to have to pass the ball inside all the time. If I go over to USC, I'm going to be able to shoot every time.
Ball knocked free. Kobe Bryant. Beautiful. Lob ahead, thrown down by LeBron James. Well, USA, they started a little slowly, but they found their gait. Obviously, this team that they've assembled here in Las Vegas looks like they're very, very capable of making a run to a gold medal. But should they think of adding some additional players? Here are some of the names we thought that they might consider.
One of the great things that Jerry Colangelo has done in putting this whole program together is get a pool of guys. So when guys get injured or have personal things like getting married or children, then they can just get another guy. But when I look at this list, Arenas, Brand, Durant, Oden, Paul, Pierce, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh are the guys that jump out. And you know that this guy, Kobe Bryant, and that guy, LeBron James, and Carmelo Anthony are going to be on it. You would have to assume that Jason Kidd will be there. Chauncey Billups as well. You need those two big bruising point guards. But Chris Bosh is just such a brilliant talent. And Dwayne Wade, when he plays, I mean, he's the guy that's got the championship. He's got the MVP of the finals the way that Chauncey Billups does.
Turnover there by the USA, a rare one. Coming up at halftime, we will feature on Kobe Bryant making his debut. It's hard to believe, almost 30 years of age in his debut in international play for the US of A. We'll have news and highlights from around the rest of the sporting world and first half analysis. That's all coming up at halftime.
And then you look at Carmelo Anthony, who was the second youngest Olympian ever for the United States at 19, second only to Spencer Haywood. Carmelo Anthony, who's been playing for the national team as a junior in the under 19-year-old tournament. So these guys have been there for a long, long time, but with injuries, legal problems, and a myriad of other issues, Kobe Bryant making his first appearance at age 29.
Mike Miller knocking down a three.
United States on a basically 120-point pace for the entire game right now, as we're in the final possessions of the first half.
Puerto Rico is just launching things from the outside because they can't seem to get inside. And just as I say that, Valenzuela gets loose underneath. Rather, Figueroa gets loose, and it comes to him, and he drops it down.
Well, the drought that's been plaguing the western United States has hit Puerto Rico. They went for 6 minutes and 30 seconds without a field goal, and during that stretch, they were outscored 24-4 to break this thing open. Kobe Bryant forcing one up again.
Well, LeBron James, his quiet self, 11 points.
3 for 4 shooting, second leading shooter in the entire tournament. Remember, he had the halftime banked-in shot the other night that really ignited the United States.
This is the FIBA Americas Championship. Halftime coming up. welcome back once again. And here's a look at our McDonald's first half statistics. And what really turned things around and got the USA going, Bill, is that three-point shooting. They started so slowly.
Remarkably, John, the United States 2 for their first 11 from behind the shortened three-point arc, but then made 6 of their last 8 to blow this thing open. Puerto Rico cannot throw it in the Caribbean Ocean there. It's just very disappointing, frustrating. Carlos Arroyo held to just 5 points in the first half. Tremendous United States defense.
And our AT&T first half highlights, Kobe Bryant was shooting from the outside.
And then Amari Stoudemire, please. Let me cover my eyes on that. What ball movement. When the United States plays this way with the unselfish attitude that Coach Krzyzewski, the Jason Kidd, trying to bring every possession, then they're unstoppable. Over the top, Kobe Bryant in transition, LeBron James. Who can finish with him, and the camaraderie between those two global icons, just absolutely spectacular. Carlos Arroyo not having a good game, and the last 2 games against the United States previous to tonight, he was just absolutely spectacular. Not getting it done tonight. The defense on the perimeter for the Americans, just superb.
Arroyo averaging only 13 points per game in this tournament, but 4 assists, of course, to lead his squad.
Carmelo Anthony once again leading the United States in scoring, 14 points in 14 minutes. The big men, Amari Stoudemire and Dwight Howard, each had 5 rebounds in limited minutes. Amari Stoudemire, 9 points, 5 rebounds in 6 minutes of action.
Let's just call efficient. And the second half is underway. Puerto Rico did a very nice job in the first quarter. They were very, very much in this game. Most impressive quarter against the United States, at least first quarter against the United States thus far. Kobe Bryant with the foul on Ayuso, and Ayuso's not too happy about it. Kobe's trying to play the diplomat.
But Larry Ayuso is one of those fiery competitors. I mean, Puerto Rican basketball in the Superior League is just absolutely outstanding. Anyone who's ever spent any time down there in San Juan, just absolutely one of the most eclectic cities in the entire world. And the beaches that they have throughout Puerto Rico, scintillating.
Of course, it was the United States territory, Puerto Rico, and anyone born in Puerto Rico is a United States citizen. Thus, this is a game of all U.S. citizens, as was the Virgin Islands game.
But always the argument that goes back and forth. Does Puerto Rico want to become a state, the 51st, or do they want to
independence,
become or stay the Commonwealth status that they have right now?
Well, and there's a lot of people who would like full independence as well.
Yes.
So there's 3 options there. But
4 million people live in Puerto Rico, and the population, everything has just expanded since the 1950s.
Bounce pass off a foot, so get a reset. That went off of Arroyo. The other interesting thing I read about Puerto Rico is there's actually more people of Puerto Rican descent living in the United States than are actually living in Puerto Rico.
Absolutely. The United States invaded Puerto Rico in 1898.
Spanish-American War.
Right, and then the United States, as part of that war settlement, got not only Puerto Rico, but the Philippine Islands as well.
And Cuba.
Yes.
For a moment, momentarily. Again, the nice ball movement by the United States. Howard smacks his hands. Chief said that field goal percentage is going down.
But the difference in the way the United States plays, when they put the ball on the floor to try to score, it breaks down. When they put it on the floor to set somebody else up, they get a wide open shot or a throwdown. And that's just a different style. Who could ever forget the 1976 Olympic tournament in Montreal when Puerto Rico had the United States and Butch Lee was on fire, one of the great offensive performances ever. And then with 8 seconds to go and Puerto Rico just trailing by 1 and a chance to win it, Butch Lee was called for an offensive foul.
P.J. Ramos just knocked it into his own hoop, trying to play it off the rim. Ramos from outside. Oh, good range for the 7-footer.
Peter John Ramos played for the Washington Wizards for a couple of years, but never really got significant playing time. He seems to have gotten himself in better physical condition to be able to move a little bit better.
He's best known, Ramos, for headbutting Yao Ming. The World Championship last year. They got into a little tete-a-tete, literally. Shot from the outside, drops down for Kobe Bryant.
I just love that offensive attack. Push the ball up the court, get a defender to take one step in to deny penetration, and then your guy's wide open. Kick it to him and let it fly right away, no hesitation.
Arroyo comes up shooting and knocks it down. Right back at the other end. Real quick shot by LeBron James.
The pace of these games, very enjoyable for the legions of fans in Las Vegas watching these games. Very little stoppage of play. Phil Jackson, who's going into the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts, Friday, a week from this Friday, September 7th. When he first went down to coach in Puerto Rico, this is after he retired from the Knicks and the Nets as a player, trying to get started, couldn't get a job going on. He'd already written his first book, Maverick, which is an unbelievable book. This was before he was the legendary Hall of Fame coach. Check that one out, Maverick. But then he wrote this book. His second book was Sacred Hoops. And he's got a whole segment in there on coaching in Puerto Rico. And he titles the segment, The Art of Chaos. And when Phil went down there after having his whole life, from Red Holtzman and the great Knick teams and the organization and everything, he goes down there and he's trying to teach the unselfish style of basketball to all the guys down there. And the star player on the team, he wants no part of it. So 3 weeks in, the star player goes to the owner and says, get this guy out of here. So they fire Phil Jackson 3 weeks in. The owner feels really bad about it, so he gives Phil another job down there on another team. And Phil then goes on to a Hall of Fame career. But you got to check this book out, Sacred Hoops. It's the second of Phil's 4 books. The other 2 after Maverick and Sacred Hoops are More Than a Game, and then the last one, The Last Season, which interesting book there.
Well, I was going to say the last season has a little bit of that season of chaos to it as well.
Yes.
Arroyo looking for someone to dump the ball off to. Ramos. And then an offensive foul as Kobe Bryant was doing a nice job defensively and someone cleared him out. Coach Cintron has that look on the face that just about every opposing coach has had thus far in this tournament against the United States. Like he's been run over by a bus.
And the United States is playing since the first quarter like we've seen them throughout this tournament. And with Uruguay tomorrow night, with Batista, the tournament's leading scorer, and then you've got a great showdown on Thursday night with Argentina, who continues to play superb basketball.
Despite not having their first team forward.
Well, they've sent their second unit here, and they're already in the Final Four.
Right.
But one of the reasons that Argentina and Brazil are the second and third best teams in this tournament is Argentina, they have 286 players who are playing in Spain and Italy on a year-round basis. Plus, they have terrific leagues of their own, so the pool of talent of guys who are playing all the time, literally 1,000 players from Argentina. Brazil, they have 200 guys who are playing overseas. LeBron James able to throw that one down. Kobe Bryant exultant.
The lead is up to 31. Puerto Rico again getting shots from the outside by Reyes, but it won't go. And then we got something going on at the other end of the floor.
The kick ahead by Kobe Bryant, and no one is going to match LeBron James, who seems to be sailing off the cliffs of Fajardo in the Conquistador Hotel on his way to Vieques Island, which used to be a bombing range for the United States, and it's a sacred spot for the people in Puerto Rico, and they finally were able to convince the United States Navy to stop bombing this place, but now they have all kinds of environmental problems and constant issues trying to get the Navy to live up to their responsibilities to clean up this Superfund site just east of the eastern edge of Puerto Rico.
It looked like we had a technical call from Carmelo Anthony. I don't know if it was a double or not. You see how Yusuf having a little chuckle with Coach K. So it was just a technical against Puerto Rico. The United States not shooting very well from the free throw line tonight, just at 50%.
One of the players that Puerto Rico is missing is Jose Ortiz, who has recently retired. Picolín, the legendary player, played in 4 Olympics for Puerto Rico. Just an outstanding big man, but he simply just got too old. 4 Olympics, just one shy of the all-time record held by Oscar Schmidt of Brazil and the player from Cuba as well. Carmelo Anthony out in front.
And you saw who made the pass, Jason Kidd as well. Ayuso, seemingly 1 against 5. And that's what it seems like in all of these games, Bill. When it comes down to one end of the floor, it's a player against 5 USA defenders, and at the other end, it seems like 5 against 1.
The difference in styles, and when you have so many great players on one team like the United States, then how many of these other players, there's not a single player in this tournament for the other 9 teams who could make the United States team roster as the last man.
No, without question. They might not be able to make this another team that's not here, or 2 other teams that aren't here. But that doesn't explain success, because I think that could also have been said of the teams that failed in Greece and failed at the World Championship as well.
Those were chemistry issues, lack of respect for the opposition, disagreements with the coaching staff and the philosophy there, and just a myriad of problems, all of which have been addressed and corrected by Jerry Colangelo.
Dwight Howard thought he was fouled there, and then quickly Arroyo takes it at the glass, and that one is goaltended by Tayshaun Prince. I wonder if it's going to take the NBA players a little bit of time to get back in fold when they play in the NBA with the goaltending rules there. LeBron James, you can't goaltend that. Here's a look at the standings in the quarterfinal round. Argentina has already clinched a spot in the semifinals. The United States would do that as well if they hold on to this victory against Puerto Rico, which it looks like they will. Brazil also holds their fate in their hands if they win their last 2 games they're in. After that, 4 and 5, which are also very, very key. The top 2 teams, whoever reaches the gold medal game, will get positions in the Beijing Olympics. But 3, 4, and 5 will also still have a chance to qualify next summer. So very important, not just who makes it to the semifinal round, but who gets that number 5 position as well.
The view from here is that Canada, Uruguay, and Puerto Rico are in that mix for the 3, 4, 5 spots. Well, yeah, excuse me, 4, 5, 6. Because 2 and 3 will be Argentina and Brazil.
Yeah, it looks that way. the thing that Canada has going in their favor is that in this round they do not have to face the United States, whereas Puerto Rico and Uruguay both have to do that. And obviously your victory against the teams that got knocked out, the Virgin Islands and Panama, those victories didn't count. So basically Puerto Rico came into this round without a win, essentially. Ramos with a nice job inside.
But you have a tremendous history of Puerto Rican basketball with success internationally, and Carlos Arroyo, who with a 30-point NBA game to his credit, is that he's got the highest point total ever for a Puerto Rican in the NBA. Nice drive by LeBron
James, and then rolls it down.
So LeBron leading the United States tonight with 19 points. He also has 4 assists. Carmelo has 17. Kobe Bryant just behind with 14. Sadly, Carlos Arroyo only has 9 points to this point in the game, but he does have 5 rebounds.
Michael Redd trying to get that to count. James threw it up and it dropped down. Michael Redd was motioning to the officials to count it and then was terribly disappointed when they didn't.
The beautiful hesitation as he comes around. He wrong foots Ramos, who's not a great defender by any stretch of the imagination, and just leaves everybody on the floor, able to convert with the left hand, something that we rarely see from LeBron, almost exclusively right-handed, but remember, he's just getting started. He's already taken a team with not much around him all the way to the NBA Finals.
The other thing about this team that's so dangerous and so scary for the opponents is, who do you shut down? I mean, seriously, if you're a coach, nice drive by Arroyo, but if you're a coach and you're preparing to play this United States team, and you sit down and you say, all right, here's our strategy. We are not going to let so-and-so score tonight. Well, let's say you hold LeBron James to 0 points. Miraculously, somehow you do that. Well, Kobe Bryant's going to get 20, and Carmelo Anthony's going to have 30. Exactly. So what do you do?
Pack it in defensively. Play a really tight zone and see if the United States can make it from the outside. The problem is that the more looks you get with this team, they're going to eventually find a rhythm, and plus Krzyzewski can come with Mike Miller and Michael Redd, two guys who were not on the World Championship version of the United States team in Japan a year ago.
Yeah, it's just, there are just too many weapons and not enough answers for the rest of the world. And that's why it was so hard for people to understand how we could have such recent failure. But I think Jerry Colangelo and Mike Krzyzewski and the staff have certainly regained the formula. And we should point out the competition is going to be a lot tougher next year at the Olympics than at a qualifying tournament. But we're going to have the teams from Europe into the mix as well.
Well, Spain will be there.
Yeah.
We don't know who else will come. Italy is always a power. Argentina most likely will be there, and they'll have their big guns: Nociones, Ginobili, Oberto. With no disrespect to Scola and Delfino, have been leading the way, and we'll see them on Thursday night. The NBA has got a tremendous history with Puerto Rico, John. They've played 6 games total on the Isle of Enchantment, the first one back in 1993. No games are scheduled this year, though, for the upcoming season.
Michael Redd for 3. So it's not like the Montreal Expos. Major League Baseball made them play half of their season.
Look, speaking of baseball, it's really sad because Puerto Rico has the longest running Latin league that's going on. And It's been played continuously for 70 years. And now, for the first time this year, they canceled the season. Lack of funds. It's just not happening. There's some tough economic times going on in Puerto Rico right now. But you're talking about some of the greatest players in the history of baseball who have played in that Puerto Rican league.
A lot of the old Negro League players would go over there and play quite a bit.
John, of the thousands of major leaguers who have played in the Puerto Rican leagues, 35 guys are in the Baseball Hall of Fame, including Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Sandy Koufax, Bob Gibson, Johnny Bench, Frank Robinson, Reggie Jackson, Mike Schmidt, Cal Ripken Jr., Roberto Clemente from Puerto Rico, Satchel Paige, Jim Palmer, Necro, Wade Boggs, and Tony Gwynn. That's a roster of talent there. And now, no more baseball in Puerto Rico. How sad.
That doesn't seem right. Michael Redd with a miss. Lee had the shot, and then he goes in for a closer look on the drive and knocks it in. Well, that's all Coach Cintron can do. I mean, what are you going to do?
You're going to look to tomorrow and not get embarrassed. Play your best and figure, look, we still have a chance to get to that Final Four on Saturday.
But as we talked about the other night, as happened to Brazil, when Brazil was looking so good until they played the United States and got pasted, and I asked you, does that do anything for their confidence? And they go the next night and get beaten by a Puerto Rican team that was 1-3 in pool play. So now what does this do to Puerto Rico's confidence going into tomorrow?
It doesn't affect it because they have much easier opponents. They get 2 victories, and then with the point differential, maybe they can qualify for Saturday's Final Four, because Arroyo and Ayuso, the real keys to this Puerto Rican team, they have been here before. They know that the United States players and team is better. Brazil, they're still young enough. I mean, Barbosa's still thinking at 24, hey, yeah, I'm better than all these guys. Right. But Carlos Arroyo and Larry Ayuso, they know better.
And Arroyo has fouled out of the game here in the third quarter.
Zone defense here by the United States, working on something that they may need later on.
Ayuso pulls up.
Very difficult shot.
He's followed, but the foul. Amari Stoudemire thought he had the block. And the foul goes against. Or maybe they just called goaltending.
Yeah, it was goaltending.
Just called goaltending.
Players haven't made the adjustment to the fact that you can't take it off the glass. Take it off the rim, yes. Nice ball movement.
Michael Redd, no good.
Michael Redd, who's the United States' second leading scorer, has not been in rhythm at all tonight.
Well, that's actually, he wasn't in rhythm that much last night either. Head of the pack. Oh, he pulls up. Comes up short. Amari Stoudemire with the rebound. Chauncey Billups for 3, no good.
I'm fascinated by the evolving story in Milwaukee with the Chinese player E and what he's going to do. And is one of these teams around the NBA, they're going to say, hey, look, we'll make a big push, get this guy E, and say, we've gone China.
Yeah, the problem is they're going to have to trade to get his rights.
And he's attacking the whole structure and authority level of the NBA. And while it's worked for some guys, worked for Steve Francis, worked for John Elway, football, Eli Manning, Kiki Vandeweghe in the NBA years ago. Look at that spirit. The 2 guys, LeBron and Carmelo, right up off the bench. Yeah, let's go, guys.
The FIBA Americas Championship. The USA looks like they'll roll on to yet another victory, remain unbeaten, and secure a spot in the semifinal round. Remember, top 2 teams, they just have to reach that gold medal game, and they'll assure themselves a spot in the Beijing Olympics. Well, the good news for Puerto Rico is they scored 29 points in that third quarter, matching the United States. They only had 27 in the first half, but the bad news is They were not able to creep any closer to the United States, and now are only 10 minutes away from being defeated, and Carmelo Anthony doing what he's been doing throughout this entire tournament. LeBron James, the leading scorer now, though.
But LeBron James has got out in transition. He's not forcing the action at all. He's been hitting some perimeter jumpers, getting on the offensive glass, driving to the hoop in the delayed break opportunities. Just been a brilliant all-around game for LeBron James. Sadly for Puerto Rico, Carlos Arroyo has fouled out. He's at 12 points, 6 rebounds. Larry Ayuso leads the way for Puerto Rico with 13.
Sanchez knocking that one down. Sanchez actually was second-round pick of Portland in 2005. Miller. It was an interesting pass. I think maybe he lost that one, but it went into the right hands.
But it's nice to see that Tayshaun Prince is moving freely and able to convert in the basket area, and that sprained ankle hopefully will not be a limiting factor as the United States moves on to play Uruguay tomorrow night, because they're going to need him on the boards and against Batista, the tournament's leading scorer.
Rivera, who's a very good scorer. Top scorer in Italy last year, and that's a tough league to be the leading scorer in.
Well, Italy and Spain have the top 2 leagues.
Michael Redd. And the FIBA Europe qualifying starts on September the 3rd.
One of the reasons why the South American players from Brazil and Argentina are so much in demand in the Italian and Spanish leagues is the liberal citizenship rules of people who have an ancestor that come from either Italy or Spain and then emigrated over to South America. Oh yeah, we'll let you play as a national, as a citizen.
And Puerto Rico keeps on shooting.
One of the really great things about Puerto Rico is the fact that the NBA Retired Players Association has had numerous conventions down there in Puerto Rico. They're going back again in September, in the middle of September. They'll be at the Ritz Hotel and in Puerto Rico, the Legends of Basketball annual reunion. Absolutely outstanding event.
Well, I take it you'll be there for that.
Undoubtedly.
I'll look for my invitation in the mail.
Beautiful cross-court entry pass on the baseline out of bounds. Puerto Rico dropping back into his zone.
Miller to Tayshaun Prince. Phillips over to Michael Redd, and Michael Redd just last couple of nights has not had the touch, and Chauncey Billups gets fouled by Bryant.
Redd and Miller are not stroking the ball that well in these last 2 games, and that will be a cause of concern as Jason Kidd and Kobe Bryant sitting this 4th quarter out. It's very difficult to stay mentally sharp day after day these games, but the players are not in charge of what's going on here in the NBA, which only plays 2 nights in a row now.
Can you imagine trying to get an NBA team to play 6 nights in a row? It would be a revolt.
So, John, I'm getting ready for the game tonight, and I'm reading Phil Jackson's book, The Art of Chaos and Sacred Hoops, and I highlighted a special paragraph about Puerto Rican basketball, which is just absolutely exciting. They're so passionate. Phil Jackson from Sacred Hoops. Coaching in Puerto Rico taught me how to cope with chaos. The games were raucous affairs, played late at night in the sweltering open-air arenas called conches. The fans showed up early, often drunk, and started parading around, banging bongos and tom-toms and blowing air horns. Fights often broke out in the stands. The owner of the Quebradillas team always carried a gun with him to games in Isabela. He said because there was a lot of bad blood between the 2 towns. Once the mayor of Quebradillas He has fired a gun at one of the refs during a home game because he disagreed with a call and wounded an usher. For his sentence, he was forbidden from ever attending a game in the Roberto Clemente Stadium again. Check it out.
That was the only sentence? He couldn't go back to
the game.
Oh, man. That doesn't seem like he got off too difficultly then. Tayshaun Prince showing deep range, an NBA length three-pointer.
Did you see that startling statistic released today? For every 100 Americans, there are 90 guns in this country.
Well, staggering. For someone who comes from Canada, you don't even get me involved in that conversation because everybody knows where I stand on this one.
Beautiful back cut.
Michael Redd.
But hey, this second unit has been so good. Krzyzewski is very clear about not calling it the second unit. He doesn't want to delineate any sort of a hierarchy on the team, although there clearly is one. But Mike Krzyzewski is one of those guys who is all about the team. We had the roster earlier of the guys who are possible players for the Beijing team and in support of these guys. I think that list of guys of the second group, I think that team, coached by this current squad with Colangelo as the leading executive, I think that team could win the gold medal as well.
Oh, without question. And I think there's probably a third team that could do it. And perhaps a fourth. Figueroa can't convert the three-point play.
Gilbert Arenas would just love to get in there and mix it up. But he can't get a look here.
But he wants to play against Mike Krzyzewski, remember? He said he would play against him in college.
We had the game last year where he went for 54 against Mike D'Antoni in Phoenix on Thanksgiving weekend. And oh, what a game that was as Gilbert hit the game winner in, I think it was multiple overtimes. I forget.
Apodaca trying to drive the baseline and got bailed out as he got tapped out of bounds by the U.S. Nope. That's just a bad pass by Ricky Sanchez, and Puerto Rico is struggling. Time now for the higher play of the game, and this one would apply.
How high is high for LeBron James out in front? The beautiful kick-ahead pass by Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James is unstoppable in that situation.
United States leading 103-69, just under 5 minutes to go here. The United States, with a victory tonight, will qualify for the semifinal round. And they still have 2 games to play. So then it's just a question of playing for that top seed in that semifinal round.
Hey, how about Kevin Martin for the Sacramento Kings signing that $55 million 5-year contract, becoming the 3rd highest paid King on the roster after Brad Miller and Mike Bibby. Reggie Theus, a new coach out in Sacramento, so we really hope that the Kings get back into the mix. But I don't know. Every team Ron Artest has been on, he's ruined, but they've still got him.
Well, maybe Reggie Theus can find a way to get to him. He's a year older every year, so he can.
We can only hope. After 33 wins last season for Sacramento.
Darren Williams with the pass off, but Barea reached in. Hector Valenzuela coming in as Ricky Sanchez trots his way out. Darren Williams. Tyson Chandler now. Swings it back out. Michael Redd off the mark yet again.
But the offensive rebounds, the length of Tayshaun Prince, the timing. There's a nice touch. Maybe that will get Redd back in the rhythm.
He won't stop shooting. That's the
and you shouldn't. When you're as good a shooter as Michael Redd, only the bad shooters should stop shooting. And it's the coach's responsibility to determine who those bad shooters are.
Oh, finally a nice drive underneath by Apodaca.
I know one of the ways that a lot of the Puerto Rican guys get their rhythm back, besides going to the beaches, because the beaches there are just unsurpassed throughout the world. But they go to El Yunque National Park, which is the only tropical rainforest in the entire United States National Forest System. And it is so beautiful. Located on the eastern end, just west of Fajardo, up in the mountains with the waterfalls and the plants. El Yunque, that is one of the most beautiful places I have ever been.
Hey, Sean Prince, is there a place on earth you haven't been?
Well, New Zealand.
Okay. I'm sure you'll get there, though.
Can only hope.
USA just...
How about the fact that New Zealand qualified for the Olympics in the Oceania bracket of these FIBA tournaments? That tournament held in Australia. And Australia, a very proud country with their basketball tradition, and do they ever love their sports? And to have New Zealand come in and spank them, Luke Longley, he must be rolling over on his beach chair.
Miller picks up the loose ball. Darren Williams with it now. Drives, rattles it down.
Because we always talk, John, about the guys using basketball to make a better life for themselves as opposed to having basketball use them. Luke Longley took all his money and bought the beach in his hometown just outside of Perth. And oh, what a spot he's got there.
Figueroa gets that one to go in traffic. Tayshaun Prince with the lob inside to Tyson Chandler.
Well, the United States very close to their average points per game. They're in this tournament through 5 games, not counting tonight, averaging 117 points per game. So they're pretty much on pace. They're just giving up 73 points per game. So a little let down on the defensive end. But Puerto Rico played a good first quarter. Since then, it has been a real struggle.
Chandler with the rebound to Darren Williams. Williams gets it back again from Chandler. Sees an opening. Swings it back out. Michael Redd puts it on the floor. Spins. Finds himself wide open. And bumps it in. Michael Redd and Team USA just moments away from securing a spot in the semifinals. Mentioned the United States just a couple of minutes away from getting to the semifinals, so let's give them the nod and assume that they can hold on to this lead. They would join Argentina, who's also already qualified, remains unbeaten thus far, and Brazil. If they win the remaining 2 games, they will definitely make it to the semifinals. It's a question of who's going to get that number 4 spot.
Canada, maybe Puerto Rico, maybe Uruguay. We're going to have to see how talented this team from Uruguay is.
Well, they have to play Brazil.
And the United States.
That could be over. Quick drive by Barea. Barea turns and fires. Misses. Underneath, gets it up on the iron with Valenzuela.
Looking at Barea, I'm really intrigued as to what's going to happen with the Dallas Mavericks this coming season after the absolute collapse when they were run out of the gym by the Golden State Warriors.
That was one of the more shocking outcomes in the history of NBA playoffs.
And you just have to wonder how they're going to recover psychologically from that. Will Dirk be able to come back and play really well? Will we ever see Eric Dampier come back and do anything? I mean, he was supposed to be the difference in that series, and he just disappeared. Will the Lakers make any moves as Portland and Seattle come back alive in basketball? 2 teams on the brink.
Cleveland after making it to the final. We get very shy about
it. Beautiful defensive rotation by Tyson Chandler, who was seriously in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, an award won by Marcus Camby. Tim Duncan, though, is the best defensive player in the NBA. You say that about a lot of categories for Tim Duncan.
The USA just content to pull the air out of the basketball.
You never want to run the score up.
Well, it might count.
But that's the problem with the rules here. And Darren Williams.
Well, there was a shot clock he had to contend with, but they're going to take the air out of the ball only for so much. But if these 2 points go in, which you don't, those 2 points at some point could be very important because point differential does come in to decide a tiebreaker.
And that's why they need to change that rule.
Mike Krzyzewski and crew continue unbeaten. We'll get back to FIBA Americas Championship in a moment. This continues, Bill, 117-78. Mike Krzyzewski clearly has his plan sealed in the minds and the heads of each and every one of the superstars on the floor.
And the execution of that plan, ignoring the score, ignoring the inability of the opposition to come and make these games competitive, has really been the story of this tournament as the United States now with Argentina qualifying. They are in the Final Four with 10 points. One of 2 undefeated teams. Uruguay still in there. They've got the daunting task of playing against the United States tomorrow night. But when the United States plays with the determination, the discipline, the focus, and the commitment to get it done the way they're playing, I don't see anybody giving them any kind of game. And the real joy is watching how they play. And the great ball movement that broke this game open in the second quarter tonight, John, was a thing of beauty.
And again, the statistics, they didn't shoot it very well from three-point range. I mean, on an NBA team is pretty good, but they've been shooting it at 50% clip, so it doesn't look that good. But again, field goal percentage overall, 59%.
And only 4 turnovers. Jason Kidd back in the starting lineup. No slight to Chauncey Billups, but they're just more comfortable playing with the kick-ahead type passing. Chauncey, much more of a slow-down setup type of point guard. This was a masterful performance with everybody getting their dunks. The defense was very, very good, and Puerto Rico, sadly, just didn't have enough.
Again, the USA wins at 117-78. Join us tomorrow night as the USA continues qualification for the 2008 Olympics against Uruguay. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Bill Walton and our entire ESPN crew, I'm John Saunders. Good night.